We are at the top of the hour, so let's get started here. Myself, Nick, John, and Tyler, we're sitting down with Steve. Is it Booz? B-O-O-Z?
Booz. Yep.
Vice President of Marketing at Royal Building Products, and we're here to discuss the state of the building products industry and the outlook for 2020, given the current pandemic situation. So in general, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and Royal Building Products is doing great. You know, this is certainly different for most people, for sure. But we're making it through. We're adaptable for sure.
Was that the reaction initially, or were you along the lines of everyone else, where it's like, what the heck are we gonna do now?
Yeah, we were kind of in two camps. It was, oh my goodness, what's going to happen, you know, with this whole thing on the one side, and the other side, it's not going to last very long. We'll get through this pretty quickly. And then reality started sitting in that this wasn't going to be so quick, you know, particularly here in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast areas where a lot of things shut down, and some things still are shut down. You know, and things softened up for a little bit, but they've come roaring back for us.
I mean, you guys are primarily outdoor products as well, which doesn't hurt.
It definitely helps, and we've seen that a lot with a lot of our particular remodeling contractors who don't necessarily want people in their house, you know, especially when they're trying to work from home, homeschool their kids, and everything else they have going on. But being an exterior product, it was a lot lower risk to having our contractors there on site.
Why didn't I consider that when I went into business? I do like one or
well, who knew?
I do one or two small outdoor projects a year, and I don't have to clean up. I don't have to have the homeowners up my rear end all day long. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing?
Who are you kidding? You're still cleaning. You're still cleaning up. You're vacuuming the grass.
The truth is that I always say it's going to be really nice to do an outdoor project, and it's going to be springtime or fall. There'll be nice weather, and then it's either 200 degrees and humid, or we get an early season snowstorm, or it just rains the whole time.
Yeah, outdoor is not always all it's cracked up to be, but you're right. It does have some advantages.
Steve, to your comment about thinking that this was going to kind of bounce back quickly, what attributed to that? You know, why were you guys so confident about saying something like that?
Well, I guess we're probably optimistic by nature, and I don't know that anyone truly had a scale of what was going to happen with this thing, right? You know, you started hearing some rumblings here and there, and then it just started growing and growing and growing, and more things shut down, and all that did happen fairly quickly. But I guess it's just the optimist in us. And you look back at Q1 now for the building industry, it was fantastic. Starts were well above where we had anticipated. Remodeling spending was up, and there were people calling for doom and gloom on remodeling spending going down. And we were off to this great start. The whole industry was. You guys, I'm sure, were busy. A lot of your clients were busy. So it was all good. So I guess part of it was we were hopeful that it would just keep on going.
I think that, you said Q1, it was the same for us, where we started busy, and then obviously March came, and everyone had probably a similar reaction to you guys, is that, this is going to be slow, like this is going to, kind of happen, and we'll bounce back fairly quickly. And as we watched it trickle, across the entire world, we realized that this is much bigger than we're all expecting. And it's just a matter of, when is this going to impact us? And, John, Tyler, and myself have talked about, it would have been nicer if it just happened and it was expected. Like, we knew it was coming when it was coming. Let's shut down, everyone shut down, reset, go back to work, where the level of uncertainty really threw a lot of people for a loop to the point where, many went out of business because of it, because they weren't, it was day by day that they were trying to, let's work, let's not work, not sure, lay off, not lay off. And, with respect to that, now a couple months into this, now we're into the middle of June, and, 3 months after March, for me, and I think a lot of people are seeing, there's this influx of business where it's becoming busier than Q1 started, which, I mean, we've all kind of probably made assumptions that it had to do with the fact that people are home. They're realizing that their home is too small. They want to move. They want to get away from a less dense area, moving out of the city, things like that. Are you guys seeing a similar spike in your sales and growth?
We are. I just spent the last couple of days on the National Association of Home Builders spring meetings, virtual spring meetings. And that was obviously a hot topic. Their chief economist, Dr. Robert Dietz, was sharing with us that he expects the high-rise multifamily, for example, to construction there, not so much. Low-rise multifamily, yeah, that'll still probably go. But from a new build perspective, he sees a lot of the suburbs going. He actually had a chart up that said that half of all the new starts were in not the major MSAs. So the MSAs were half and all the rural counties were half. So there's definitely an immediate movement to people wanting to get back into single family homes, get out of the cities. There's a lot of people who are commuting or working from home right now saying, why do I live in the city again? What are we doing here? And with all the density issues that really spread this pandemic, certainly didn't help things. And at the same time, remodeling. People are looking around their houses saying, man, if we're going to be doing this more, where are we going to put the kids? What am I going to do? What are we going to do differently? So for the remodeling industry, it's been a huge boom as well as people want to add space or they want to redo the spaces that they have.
Yeah, the phone stopped ringing for a little bit for us. I
bet.
And then I think as the fear kind of dissipated a little bit and people realized that we're going to get through this, it's picking back up. Obviously, there's a different approach now than there has been in the past, and I think that's probably going to be the case going forward. But I think things seem to be bouncing back relatively well right now, which is the only issue is staying this busy. It is harder to get things done. I think that there's a couple of extra and added steps, which adds to the complexity because now it's working like 2.5 times to get one time amount done, which has been challenging, but maybe that's the new normal.
It could be, and one of the other things that I just lost my train of thought that I was going to say to that, but you're exactly right on the unemployment. We really feel for the people who have lost their jobs from all this, but it hasn't really hit the I'll call it the salary professional. It's been more on the retail or the hospitality industry. And that's why they also think it's going to be a short-lived recession. Dr. Dietz is predicting a Q3 growth again. So it'll be just a simple 2-quarter recession here, because of this, because the unemployment never hit, more of that homeowner, professional community. It certainly hit the rental community hard. And the government did a great job of, helping them through this time. But
I think on that call, there was a stat in there that on that call there was a job gain of 2.5 million for May, which was a contrast to what many other industries and experts were saying, and that's obviously specific to construction. But to your point about bouncing back in construction faster than other industries, there's some truth to that. The question I think that the three of us are still uncertain about is, what about product manufacturing? John's talked about it, is are we going to see this 3 to 6 months from now when product manufacturing took this dip and it really hasn't, like that product hasn't been exhausted from the shelves per se, and
sure.
in 3 to 6 months it's going to be.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. And, different companies, depending on where their product manufacturing is physically, saw different results. We were fortunate and we were not forced to shut down any of our plants. And in fact, being the optimists, we kept running full steam ahead, even building some inventory on the thought, and looks like right now we're right, that the business is going to bounce back fairly quickly and we'd be in a position to keep that supply going. But even as we do that, if some of our other competitors or even competitive materials didn't do that, that may shift demand and may put burden on us as well. So there could be some products that are tighter than others. I read something about the sawmills in Canada, some that shut down, and there have been some other places that shut down. So there could be lumber shortages. There could definitely be other building material shortages. We're doing our best at the moment to keep it going and doing fine so far.
I mean, from a manufacturing standpoint, it's relatively easy to understand how you can implement safety, with social distancing and cleanliness. But what about from a sales perspective? You guys are rely heavily on your sales staff to bring that product to market, whether it's direct to consumer or to a lumberyard or a distributor. How has that been impacted, and what are you guys doing in efforts to keep that ball rolling?
Sure. At a couple levels, our sales team calls on obviously our distribution partners all the way down through the lumberyards and contractors, like you guys. And the first 2 months or whatever into this, we did a ton of webinars. We did a ton of obviously phone calls and Zoom meetings and presentations just to try to stay connected, understand what's going on, have our finger on the pulse. But as you can imagine, it's hard to keep a bunch of sales guys locked to their desk. They're sitting around looking around saying, what do I do now? This isn't what I normally do. I don't know how to do this. And so giving them some other tools. Beyond that, we've done a lot to give our contractor customers tools. And virtual selling has become a huge thing. And it's actually something that we started exploring even 1.5 years, 2 years ago, as the average homeowner may not want someone sitting in their kitchen for 3 hours while they're trying to, get their kids to soccer practice and back and make dinner and all those things and talk about whatever remodeling project they may have. So these virtual selling tools have started then, but, they've really just skyrocketed now. The one that we've connected to in particular, One Click Contractor, allows the contractor to sell the complete project and visualization, contracts, estimates, financing, if that's something that's there, all through a Zoom meeting type experience where they can do it from a distance. We've also started trying to teach our pros how to driveway sell, if you will. You come to the house, but you're never going in it, right? You can set your samples up, or you can set a little table up outside their front door, clean everything, go back to the truck, and get on a Zoom call, and they can go out and look at the samples, wave to you from afar, keep your social distance. But it's different, right? It's not inviting that person into your house and putting your family at risk.
I think that's the interesting thing, but also the fact that everyone's experiencing it, right? Which is the opportunity where this can be a successful approach with digital selling, because everyone is understanding that this is a necessary evil, we'll call it. But where it's like 1.5 years ago, if you guys were trying to driveway sell, it probably would have been, laughed upon. It's like, what are you talking about? He's going to sit in his truck and try to sell me decking from inside his, air conditioning truck.
Come talk to me. Come see my job. Yeah.
I think inherently it's going to be difficult to adapt to, but, even for our side of it, we're meeting with clients over Zoom calls. And from an efficiency standpoint, it's great because we're saving, potentially 2+ hours of driving to and from a meeting. But, the other side of it is, are you still getting that personal connection to your client? Right. Is the sale still happening? Is it still romantic, I guess, to steal John's word?
Sure. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, go ahead.
To Nick, what you were saying, I think that, I don't know if the entire industry, we can get the opinion of whoever's on this, but I don't know if the entire industry relies on that personal experience as much as, you know, we do. I feel like a lot of times we do isolate ourselves, you know, John's business, my business, your business, and we really do push that. But I think there's a lot of guys and girls out there in businesses that are just revolve around getting those sales out, getting those numbers out, pushing that product, and it's not necessarily creating that personal relationship, which for me is very important. Whether it's a vendor, a material, it's not just about the product. It's knowing that I'm going to be able to call somebody if there's an issue, or that somebody's going to back their product, or that I can send somebody to a customer and they'll be able to have a conversation with them and kind of discuss and articulate why their product is going to be superior in the long run.
Yep. Very true. That makes a lot of sense.
Now, Steve, you guys had noted when we had discussed earlier that you guys have went through this before.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I've been around the building products business for 30 years now. Pretty much right out of college, and we've seen a lot of ups and downs. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. A lot of economic related recessions. You know, we had the 9/11 related recessions and everything in between. And we as a country have always bounced back. You know, this industry, home building, drives, I think they said over 15% of the GDP of our economy. It's an important part of the business, both new construction and remodeling businesses. And it's, you know, our country's growing. We continue to push forward both from a population perspective and an economic perspective. And you know, this too shall pass. It depends how quick. You have the optimistic people who are saying that, you know, within 2 years we'll be back on the same path that we were on before, which was a nice upward trajectory. You know, some other people saying it's going to be a little bit longer, but no one thinks. I don't think, or maybe I'm sure there's some pessimists out there. No one's really predicting that this is going to last forever. You know, Q2 is going to be rough numbers, but you know, practically speaking, we're almost out of Q2, right? You know, we've lived through it, and like I said, they're predicting the Q3 growth and getting right back on that bus. So we're optimistic, and I think we have some good reasons to be, not just being optimistic people.
So you guys, you didn't really sit back with all of this, and you had mentioned that you started putting out new product and developing new product, releasing a new line of Zori decking. What was the risk involved with that? Because I could see doing that and having that flop right on its face.
Yeah, it sure could have. You know, it's really, I guess it's in our DNA as a company to keep trying to pushing things forward. You know, we don't necessarily sit back and just copy what everybody else is doing, whether it be our marketing or our product. It's continuing to push forward. And, you know, we had the choice of, you know, stopping all of our new product development and just sitting back and waiting to see what happens, or continue with the launches. And through this, we've launched, you know, not only a new color in Zuri, we launched a new Zuri fascia. We launched probably a half a dozen other product lines, including just this past week a tapered column wrap to get out there to the marketplace. And you know, it's kind of striking while the iron's hot in our mind. You know, there's definitely some noise out there, but there's also a lot of quietness from a lot of the other people. So if we can be the ones that are continuing to bring innovation to the marketplace, you know, put this in a good spot, you know, both for now and for the future.
Yeah, you would get along with Nick very well, I feel. When all of this hit, I'm hunkering down. I mean, my entire life is hunkering down. I'm like, what dead weight can I get rid of right now? And Nick's like, I think I'm gonna hire 5 people. It's like the world's exploding. That's one point. The second point I want to know is, John, what do you think about a tapered column wrap reducing, you know, kind of getting rid of craftsmanship? I feel like a mitered tapered column wrap, think about that, how few people know how to do that, and now you can buy them.
Dude, I love that. I'm not romantic about it. I love, because I mean, I don't know, some of the guys we have, it would take them days to figure out how to do it for real.
Yeah.
So a product like that, and it's still probably butchered. So I'm all
My
for
old
it.
house had them, and I was like considering redoing them, but it was early on in my career, and I was thinking I'd be in over my head. I don't think I owned a track saw yet either, which I think would be like a huge game changer in making tapered column wraps. But
It is.
you know, that'd be tough on like a table saw create. It was over my my skill level at that point. But you're good with it, John.
Oh yeah, I'll be on board with that.
Interesting.
That's great to hear.
In respect to the what Tyler said, like hiring, right? The side of it, and I think this comes from 30 years personally in the business, not me, you, and I'm just making sure that's clear. I wasn't claiming to have
Makes me old.
30 years
That's fine.
experience. But I think that attributes to that because, you know, having gone through situations like this before and learning from it and realizing that, like you said, if this is really contributing to 15% of the market in, you know, or the economy, then the reality is this can't just go away. This has to be something that sustains, and the opportunity to, you know, even at a level like myself, Tyler, and John, where it's, you know, yeah, Q2, it quote unquote slowed down. And many of us, I think, took that opportunity to kind of revise and revisit things and put into place new processes, or, you know, hey, going forward, like we're not going to send out contracts because it's paper and they want to do it digitally. Let's implement that immediately. So, and you guys are doing it from a product standpoint where it's like, we're just going to keep going, and we're going to be the one in the industry that's going to continue to release products, because you don't want to react to this in a negative way.
That's right. Yeah, we're fortunate to have a good parent company that allowed us to afford that as well. You know, you guys, you know, you're entrepreneurs. You know, you're it. You don't have an $8 billion company behind you, so it's a little safer for us to do that than you or some of your listeners. And we do get that. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, the economics are still there. You know, millennials were late to get into the house ownership, and that's starting to happen. It's a big generation, and so there's a wave still coming. And if those are true, that say that there's going to be a little bit of an exodus from the city, perhaps, you know, there's going to be a ton of remodel and fixer-upper opportunities in those close suburban areas. Because the other thing we know about the millennial generation is they don't like to drive very far for their work, right? You know, they value that home life connection and don't want to have the hour and a half commute that people my age maybe put up with to get into the areas we wanted to get into.
I think there's going to be a massive surge. Like we always talk on the podcast about like our individual markets, and, you know, Nick and I being in a higher end market than most, it doesn't appeal to a lot because it's not relatable. But I do think that how do I put this? That middle market, you know, from entry level to decks to kitchen and bathroom models, in my eyes, I have no data for this, no polls, is where it's going to really ramp up, because it's all these people getting out of all these clustered homes that they live in, buying in the burbs, and then needing someone to renovate it so it's up to par for what they came from. Because it is going to be a dramatic jump from someone going from an Avalon apartment that's super clean, you know, IKEA style, to, you know, buying a house that's 1890 that's, I got the linoleum brick floor and that stuff. So I mean, people are going to want to do that. So I think for a lot of people, it's marketing to those kitchen and baths and dialing in that part of your market, because there's going to be a surge to that. Meaning, if this happens now, people are now getting off of furlough, you know, I think it's July. So then they're going to start making moves at that point. So you're going to look at, you know, September, October is when people will start closing on new properties. And that's really where you want to dive into that. That's where my head is at. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of second homes and stuff like that, where people are going to build instead of renovate for our market. So, but I think it's going to be a big jump.
But John, don't you
That
see,
makes no sense.
do you feel as though you're getting a lot of people reaching out right now?
I do. It's not, they're not qualified leads. and that's my nice way of saying that they don't fit our
Sure.
thing. But yeah, no, we do get a lot of people asking for stuff, a ton of stuff.
Right. And I think it's, whether they're qualified or not, like if the number of leads go up, the number of projects usually go up, because out of 100 leads, there's more qualified ones than there are typically than
True.
if there's 10, right?
True. But I feel like what I'm trying to get a pulse on is not those phone calls and those tie kickers, is more of what's happening with architects around me. How many calls are they getting? So almost all the architects I have, they may have taken the PPP, but they didn't have to furlough or put anybody, lay anybody
Sure.
off. If
Right.
they did that, just so anyone knows, if you got laid off and you got canned, that was them finding COVID as an excuse to kind of position themselves differently. And more importantly, I think a lot of employers, this is your opportunity to find that person that maybe the company was just satisfied with, laying people off and furloughing them. You should grab good people right now.
Yeah. Which is why I hired 5 people, Tyler.
Yeah, but hey,
nonstop.
the week that COVID dropped, we were all like, what the F? What do we do right now?
Oh, right. Absolutely.
It was like, do I let everyone go? We had some serious, deep conversations about like,
both on the podcast and, off the podcast. It was, I mean, I don't think anyone was in a position where they felt, except for Steve. Steve's super optimistic here, but I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what this means.
Right.
I don't know if I should lay people off, if it's better for them. I'm trying to weigh it out for, how long can the company survive? How long can my individuals survive? How long can I personally survive? And it's just, and trying to do all of that and run a company and be adaptable, like you said, Steve, I don't have an $8 billion company backing me. It's like this all.
It's like four.
I have Tyler and John through text message telling me what they think I should do, and I'm doing the same to them.
Well, I think the toughest part in the beginning was you can set vague expectations for your clients because it is unknown. But the hardest decision and the expectation to set in the first early days was, what are we saying directly to our employees?
Right.
Do we have their back? Should they? Because they were really freaking out. Even if they didn't show it, they were like, are we getting let go? Like, do I have a job? What's happening? And so we came out after doing a little rough math. It's just, no, we'll keep everyone on for the next 2 months until something shakes out. And then I think I don't think I originally applied for the PPP. I think I was super late to the game. Tyler, you were too.
Yeah.
And it's because I hate taking free money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think there's a flip side to it.
I mean, it's and they adapt that every day. It's like now they're extending it. Now there's I don't know. We took it, and we took it through that first round, and we did because we were advised to. But I had the same thought. It's like, is this something I really should be using at this point? Am I? I guess what went through my mind is, am I impacted as much as someone else that might need it?
Yeah, but I mean, think about the companies that took a ton of the money.
Right.
It's like
millions,
like the LA
right?
Lakers that took the money and then had to give it back.
Nope.
It's like, yeah, I don't think that you're really eligible for this, but they took a lot of
Didn't
money
like Shake Shack?
initially.
No, Shake Shack took it and gave it
Yeah,
back.
the LA
Shack.
Lakers did
Yep.
too, and then they made them give it back.
I didn't realize that.
I'm
Pretty
glad
sure
we
that
got.
you're not eligible for this, but I think that, Nick, you're probably on the same level as the Lakers.
Yeah, they're right there.
Probably.
I'm glad we got round 2 because that eight weeks started a little bit deeper into the situation.
Yeah. Right.
So it did benefit us that way, and took a lot of, I could breathe. That's
what it came down to. Yeah. It's just like a little bit of breathing room just to figure out, like, what is this going to do to us long term.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, the reason we end up taking it is we were advised that even if you end up having to pay it back, the percent at which you pay it back is minimal. Yeah. And as long as it's 1%, it's, quote unquote cheap money. Right. And I think, the biggest concern or issues I've heard people having is that they're using that money strictly for payroll and not the taxes associated with the payroll. And that's wrong. Not wrong. It's just, you're going to end up owing all that payroll tax. And if you're not paying into it each time you pay your employees, then, you have to be aware that you're responsible for it, 30 whatever %. So we chose to just do it all in one, just keep payroll as is, pay out the payroll tax, pay out, the wages, week to week.
I don't know how you do it any differently. That's
I know.
Crazy. They're not deferring stuff does not mean it's free. It means it's going to get tacked on to you at some point. But I do know the other thing that we're dealing with now is that unemployment and the stimulus and all this other stuff. There's also this level of contractor that can actually make more money. Not so much the owner of the company, but the operators that are underneath them.
Right.
They are having a hard time. Like our Finnish crew that went from like 10 to 4 because they'd rather be home getting those extra checks. So I would love to see that go away. I know it's necessary.
Like my brother who did that to me.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He won't come back to work.
See, it's a massive issue.
I don't know if Steve knows my older brother, but I'm not referring to him.
I do know your older brother. I was wondering.
He probably would do that too.
It's a struggle because
it is, and that's one huge negative to this is that a lot of people are making a lot more money right now by not coming to work, and it's counteractive to what this was supposed to do. So now you have people who didn't necessarily make that much money who have an opportunity to make another $600 a week on top of what they were already making. What sort of incentive do they have to come back to work at this point? And they're extending that even longer. And, times are tight. People are not working. People don't want to put themselves at risk, and they're going to stay home and collect more money, which I think it's tough. And I think that is going to stifle a lot of progress with people, especially as other, companies want to keep moving forward for obvious reasons.
Well, to that point, into what John just said, now having that conversation with the client, it's like, how are we doing on schedule? And it's like, I wish I had a really good answer for you, but it's, we're dealing now. It's not even just, unfortunate that everyone on our team has stayed, but some of our trades, like John, like you're saying, it's like, we can't get them back. Some of them shut down. Some of them had, really good reasons to shut down. Others just decided to shut down and wait this out. And it's like being able to, everything is driven around schedule in our projects. It's, especially in a renovation, the one I'm thinking in particular, and we're trying to update on a daily or at least weekly basis. And it's, even if they're all back, right now, you're dealing with the social distancing and like how many people can be in the space at a time.
But there's a backlog to everybody's company,
right?
And
that's the thing.
Then you hit spring, for instance, and HVAC guys then have no AC calls that are coming in, and just like, really,
right?
Really, are we doing this? Like, I get frustrated on a daily basis because right before the pandemic hit, like it was cruising. Like we were finally in the high speed lane, cruising. Everyone was doing their part. Everything was coming in, meaning money. Everything was kind of shaking out perfectly. And you had the right size crews that worked. And now it seems like everything's just mashed up where painting companies aren't the same that you had 2 months ago. Trim guys are different. Tile crews, thank God our tile crews is good, but there's a couple others that aren't. Framers, it completely mashed up who's in these crews. It's still the lead guy, but all his guys, his minions below him, they're all different.
Yeah. And it in a lot of projects, it's mid-project. Now you're coming back mid-project with different teams.
And then that trickles back to one of my original points is material. It's like we're dealing, our electrician we had lights ordered months ago. The last 4 lights showed up yesterday. And it was every time you call, it's like, yeah, everything's backlogged because of COVID. And it's, understood, but do we have a date? No.
Yeah.
Have they shipped? We don't know.
It's just a boilerplate so people don't have to work. It gives
well,
people
a lot of products like that are imported, right? So, we're fortunate that, we're making everything here in North America. But if we were relying on China, that'd be a problem.
What about your raw materials?
All raw materials are domestic as well. There might be a couple little ingredients here and there that our main supply is overseas, but for the most part, we've gone on uninterrupted. It's been fantastic.
And what's the reasoning for that, other than you guys saw this coming?
I wish we were that.
You guys
smart,
had
right?
a part in creating this.
There's parts of our industry that are very North America centric. They don't use a lot of vinyl siding in other parts of the world. They don't use a lot of composite decking in other parts of the world. Plus, most of these things are too heavy to ship real far, right? So it makes a lot of sense for us to have domestic manufacturing. But again, the lights and tools and all those things that have been outsourced to China and India long ago. Because they're high labor intensive products and they're fairly cheap to assemble, and it made sense to and they're cheap to ship. It made sense to move them long ago. So I don't know that we were that smart. We were probably just there given the nature of our products.
So what kind of touching on that, and we did mention this earlier. There's your products primarily are PVC or man-made, whether it's composite, whatever. It's not composite,
Yep.
but whatever it is, it's not traditional building materials. Your trim is not lumber. It's not finger jointed pine. It's not fir. So a lot of Nick and John are in Boston. A lot of that market is traditional means, methods, materials. And yeah, there are people who will integrate the newer products, the longer lasting products like PVC into their builds. But what's the argument other than the obvious for being able to integrate some of those materials into a more traditional build? Obviously, it's not going to rot and this and that, but there are a lot of purists and a lot of older homes that people don't want to use those products on.
Yeah. And that's, the quality of our products has changed over time. So that argument, I think, has gotten a little bit stronger for us over time as well. At the heart of it, we replace wood things with plastic things, right? And so no matter what it might be, a trim board, a molding profile, the column wraps that I was talking about, and maintenance is at the heart of that, but so is consistency. We've had this huge uptick of PVC trim for the interior of the house where there isn't any rot, right? But why? Do you really want to deal with MDF? Do you have consistency or supply problems and some of the other things that you get? You get a delivery and, half of it's hockey sticked. You don't get that with our product, right? So it's going to be the same day in, day out. Which is time. You guys were talking about labor before. We had a skilled labor shortage still, right? So beyond people not wanting to work because of COVID, we had a shortage to begin with. And so, being able to, use products that are a little bit easier to work with wood than wood, given the consistency and the looks of them now are phenomenal. You put up one of our, going back to the column wraps, you put one of our column wraps up on the front of a house. I dare anybody to tell you that it's not made out of wood.
It's funny because we had an architect on a couple of weeks ago that I was very surprised to hear him say that he was switching all of his trims on his house to PVC. Because I feel like there are a lot of people who they won't do it. And I understand it. I think that there's a workability of wood as well that is different. And I think traditionally, wood has its place in our construction. But I think, as a business, your entire business revolves around using products in place of more traditional means and methods. And there obviously has to be an angle to that where there's the obvious, it's not going to rot, you don't have to replace it, there's way less maintenance. But I think that there's a much more difficult argument where there's a hard line where some people are just no and yes. I don't know, do you guys look at that where it's like, this is our market, we're never going to switch into that market and focus on that? Or are you constantly looking to kind of bridge and creep in more and more?
It depends on which part of it. You look at the decking market, and the whole composite deck category is still only 20% of all decking going down. The rest is some kind of wood, whether it's pressure treated or exotic woods, higher end woods. So, we don't have to convert everybody to continue to grow. We just have to convert, the next guy and the guy after that. Same thing in even the exterior molding piece, still like 80% wood. And so, we're not trying to necessarily take over the world overnight. We're kind of doing more incrementally. And we've, 20 years ago, plastic was pretty shiny, and we've done a lot through technology and chemistry to fix some of that. We've made it more paintable. So at the end of the day, you're out there and putting up the product, and 5 feet away, you can't tell. And you're giving your homeowner less of a maintenance project down the road.
I mean, you even think like shore towns. John, you work on the Cape some, where integrating PVC into those builds, I feel like is if you're trying to stand behind that product, you're alleviating a lot of maintenance issues or warranty issues going that route.
Yeah, we're doing a deck project for our cabinet guy today, and we were replacing some trim on the house, and he texted me and goes, "Why are we using pine?" I thought it was a budget thing, and he's like, "My whole house is going to be PVC in the next 3 years." That was the text I got back. I was like,
"Hey guys, return the pine. Get that
I like
go get PVC."
Great to know. Like I could have used that an hour ago.
Well, I think, in comparison to, the replacing the products, right, and comparing this to COVID and the guys that are staying home, John, you made the comment about it'd be a great time to hire people or find those good guys. Do we think that the industry is going to see, and Steve, you talk about the skills gap, do we see this as a time where a lot of the guys that weren't cut out for this industry, that were kind of, faking it till they made it, are going to kind of fall off and find another path, and the market becomes more rich with talent? Obviously we're talking about a lesser quantity, but is there the potential for a higher quality on the flip side of this?
I want to say no. I would love to say yes, but I feel like there's going to be an uptick of mediocre.
Because it's going to get so busy again.
It's going to get so saturated with mediocre projects that people will, I think you'll see people that broke away from a company that may start their own to do decks or, window replacements, stuff like that people need as they move into these houses that are a different price point than people that have insurance, comp, all the things that you need for a high level company to start. That's really the jumping off point where, you're a magnet or you're no logo on the truck, no t-shirts, kind of just running by the seat of your pants. And then you get all these insurances and you get all in your overhead and profit goes up. You become legitimate at that point. And then it changes the game. But I think there'll be a lot of those one-off tasks that need to get done, I should say.
So in respect to that, do you think that the skilled labor gap issue that we had going into this is going to get worse?
I would say, yeah. I think for the general public,
that sucks.
What they receive, I think it will.
And even even the youth, right? I just think about what our focus has been as an industry for, let's say, the last 5 years. And it's been about getting the, younger people into the trades, making trades cool again, all of that. And for, listen, I'm not saying this is the worst thing to come out of COVID, but it's, I feel like this one hits really personal, where it's, we've invested a lot of time for this to impact it in a way that now we come out of this, work is busy, and then we're basically restarting from zero to make craftsmanship cool again, to get the youth excited into it again.
Yeah, but what about the fact that we continue to work throughout all of this as well?
See, that's a great point. My company was always continued to be considered essential for the jobs that we were on. There were some types of construction that were not, and then at one point they tightened that
that faucet up a little bit more to squeeze some more people out. But being that the size that we were, the existing work we had going on, I was legally never shut down throughout all of this. So there's also something to be said for that.
Real quick, I'm just going to interrupt. So if anyone's listening, feel free to drop a question in the Q&A. We're absolutely happy to answer them or include them in this conversation. Would love to hear from you guys.
I just texted you that.
Did you really?
Yeah, I just did.
I don't have
it's
any
like we've
data.
done this a time or two, John, right?
Oh, gosh.
I don't have any hard data on it, but there's a bunch of kids not going to go to college this fall because they decided to hold off a year. And there is some hope that they may end up in the trades. And then they may realize, hey, I can make a living at this. And, hopefully they have some skill or they learn some skills, right? So there's a bit of optimism on a real COVID outcome of some kids that might normally have gone to college that probably won't this fall.
Yeah, I mean,
I had my plumber on the job today, and he has 2 twin daughters who are seniors, and they're just looking now to do the community college thing based on everything that recently happened. And then one of his daughters is actually working with him all summer now.
That's awesome.
Like he just told me today. So his helper on the job is one of his daughters today, which is crazy to see my plumber roll up with an 18-year-old girl as his helper.
That probably never would have happened before, right?
I know.
Well, I think I think, Tyler, you got a good point is, kind of showcasing the fact that we were able to work through this and that, how much of a demand we, actually contribute to the economy, whether it's on the low end, middle end, or high end, there's always going to be those markets. We're not, it's not going to just all of a sudden be all high end or all low end or medium. There's always going to be that spread and the need for it. But unfortunately, I think John's also right in the sense that being that the demand is going to be so high in those areas, we are going to get an influx of, additional people that just aren't qualified.
I mean, I think it's not all awful. I think the fact that I think everyone thought that there'd be a bigger recession here, where then the only people that would be doing work would be the really high end people that had money that wasn't in the stock market, that was old money that they could then now take advantage of lower pricing. But the fact that that's not the case, I think it's a great thing. I think there will be, I don't know if it'll outweigh the amount of mediocre people out there doing work, but I think there'll be a lot of companies that really hit their stride and go, because the work will keep coming in, the value will be there. And Nick, I think I hope there's another market that opens up that I'm 40. I'm hoping there's a market of like 24 to 31-year-olds that are passionate about the industry as we are, that really take advantage of this bump that's coming. And I really don't just try and take advantage of the numbers. How many jobs can I do this year? How much money can I make? Really, what kind of impact can I make right now that then I can coast year 10, year 15, right. Not go, hey, next summer I'm buying a beach house, I'm getting a boat.
There's also a lot of people who I've ran into personally who were kind of on the tail end of their career that this stuff hit and they're just like, I'm done. You know, so there's an opportunity to come in at this point and kind of make a name for yourself, because I think a lot of people who are hanging on, I got another couple years left in me when all of this hit. They're at that age range where they're just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
So it does open the door for a lot of younger guys and girls to kind of scoot in with opportunity.
Steve, to John's comment about people using this opportunity to take advantage of pricing, from a pricing standpoint, have you guys incentivized anything?
We actually put a program out that we call a stimulus package. So going off the government.
It was you guys. Thank you.
going off the government.
I got it last week, man.
The more you talk, I feel like you guys had something to do with this. You and Bill Gates. It's all part of a bigger plan.
We put a little whipped cream out there, but we've not used price as a tool to get things started. The demand's there. The demand's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I feel like once you go down that road, like I personally wouldn't do that. Maybe I try and tighten numbers a little bit, but I don't think. I think that with the market that I personally have, I'm kind of going against everything that I'm standing for at this point. So,
right.
Hey, you can hire us for less money.
Well, I think Ben just said it in the comments here. As long as the demand is greater than the supply, then the market's going to keep rolling.
Yeah. I do want
right.
one thing that I heard you say, Steve, that you guys are making interior moldings.
We are.
It's crazy. I've seen like little bits of PVC. So we're friends with a company in New Jersey that makes. I think that all of us use their interior moldings for certain reasons. I'd be a very difficult sell. I don't think you could. You could tie me up and torture me, and I don't know if I'd be able. I don't know if I can make that switch. Outside, I'm willing to do that. Inside's tough.
It's funny.
But that's crazy. Like, what is the market for that? Other than bathrooms?
I used to think the same thing, Tyler. When I first got into that part of it, I was like, why would anybody do that, right? What's the value prop? Because it's not cheaper, right? And you don't have the moisture and rot outside the bathroom. You know, the bathroom's certainly the more obvious answer to that. But a lot of it's come down to consistency. You know, a lot of our sales there are at big box retail, so it's probably the lower end guys, not your guys. You know, buying a lot of that, or DIYers who don't know any know any different.
I'm doing another shiplap bathroom.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Shiplap's the perfect use.
We're wrapping the shower with it. The whole
That's cool. It's funny.
You did that before.
Early in my career, I was always told that you could only use a certain percentage of PVC inside a home because of the off-gassing of it.
Yeah, there's no off-gassing unless it's on fire. If your house is on fire, you got other problems. So I wouldn't be so worried about the PVC.
John's cabinet guy's whole house is going to be PVC.
That's right.
outside.
John's he's going to have like 6 arms next time you see him.
We have a question from an anonymous attendee. I got hit question live here.
Where?
The Q&A button at the bottom.
Oh.
So, do you think it's a good time for an interior designer to break off a commercial architecture firm to work on my own for residential projects, given the residential work now is popping up for home offices, etc., based in Midwest? I would say yes, but my answer would be the same 6 months ago, in the sense that if that's what you're looking to do and that's where your heart is, then absolutely go for it. But try to do that overlap. You know, line up some residential projects prior to making the cut from the commercial firm.
Yeah, stuff you do at your side hustle.
Yeah, and line that up to a point where, I mean, I always said it's like when you're on a scale, and when that scale starts teetering into that residential side, then you kind of let go of the commercial side, but use the commercial side as your, you know, basically your backbone, your financial support until you're able to cut loose.
Yeah. Take advantage of that 9 to 5, because once you go off on your own, that doesn't exist anymore.
And I mean, what's important to note is that you don't have to, or do your very best not to commingle the two, and don't, you know, obviously, what is it? What's the terminology? You don't want to
commingle. That was pretty good. You don't want to poop where you eat.
Yeah.
Poop where you eat. No. You don't want to steal clients. That's what I was getting at. I forget that.
Yeah, that's a no.
Yeah.
You get sued for that.
Right.
From a market perspective, you know, there's a good chance that office buildings are done being built for a while, right? Until people figure out with their company if they're going to leave people remote or bring people back full time. From a retail perspective, you know, I'm not sure where this person, you know, is in what space of the commercial. They said that a third of all shopping malls and shopping centers may go out of business. As a result of this, as people are all buying from Amazon now, right?
Yeah.
So the commercial space is going to be weird and uncertain for some time.
To be honest, I'm hoping so I can buy a nice big shop.
There should be some nice chunks of land.
Maybe a mall. Yeah, we're gonna have like the West Wing will be where we bring the raw material in. We're gonna segue to go.
I found you a location yesterday.
Did you? Send it to me.
I'm looking it up now, but earlier in this, I had seen some crazy stats as far as Jeff Bezos's wealth through the pandemic, and he's now up to 150 billion since this happened. There was like, I think there was like a set, maybe it was like a 4-week period or something where he had gone up like $30 billion or something. And I figured the hourly rate was to some crazy $1 million per hour rate at that. And I was like, I'd take 1 hour of what he just made in the past 4 weeks. But yeah, I'm sure I think that a lot of the malls were probably struggling with everything and Amazon before all of this hit. And like my wife is still ordering all of our groceries online.
Wow.
Because she's like, I can do all my shop. We never shopped online before this for groceries. And now it's like, she doesn't go to the grocery store anymore.
Yeah. I also think it's the whole market of like my mom, who would probably never put her credit card into the computer to buy something, is now comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So it's a whole, it's, I don't know. It also shows that, how many companies are vulnerable, like restaurants, like they can't be, if they're not open for 30 days, they're done. Like, and then, certain places, 3 months and that's it. They will be a match, but like where all those people go, and the market that's really going to be cranking is going to be ours. So the people that were at the movie that was, serving popcorn, they're going to now be a laborer somewhere. So I think this is an advantage to take, internships for companies that, is low paying, where meaning you're not having to put out so much to get a feel if someone's going to work for your company. You know, the commitment level is kind of even when I say intern. So it is a good opportunity in that aspect too.
Well, Steve, this was awesome. I appreciate you taking the time this afternoon.
Oh, you guys are great. This has been fun.
Anything else on your list for that's going on over at Royal?
I think I'm all set.
You have any dirt on my brother that you want to disclose?
Any dirt on your older brother? He did just do a video for us, and I heard the first take wasn't as good as the one I ended up seeing. So
oh, really?
Maybe I'll try and get our hands on the raw footage. Maybe we need to find that for you.
I think that's a good point. I'm gonna actually text him right now. Let's get a hold of it. I think between the three of us, we could get some solid exposure and embarrass him pretty good.
There you go. It works.
We do have a comment. Do you guys see that comment coming in? It's from Troy Heineman. I didn't read this first, so hopefully there's nothing that I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
Your brother just commented as well.
Oh, where is he?
Mike said you're not funny.
I'm a former general contractor that works with Steve on the technical side of Royal. Skilled labor is a huge issue that played into my decision for taking a job in the manufacturing industry. It got really old babysitting 40-year-old men who didn't stand behind their word, probably, or work. It's time to refocus on getting younger generations into the trade. I feel like that's every day of my life, but my job, I don't subcontract that much, but a lot of time it's damage control and babysitting. My plumber set up to come today to finish this rough in, or to finish the trim out on the job. In the past 3 days, I've been like sending him a couple of texts a day, just making sure that his hands are clean. I'm like, there's a lot of weight on this job. Have you been washing your hands? Just kind of jokingly slipping it in there. And he's like, okay, Dad.
That's crazy. Thanks for the comment, Troy. He's one of our good guys. We've actually got a group of guys who spend all their time with people like you, teaching them how to use our products. So
that's awesome.
It's a good crew.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks for taking the time.
and everyone.
Your
Oh, my
house-
pleasure. Thanks for having
Your
me.
house that you're sitting in front of looks beautiful.
Off one of our brochures.
It's nicer out in Valley Forge than, or is that what you said? Where are you again?
I'm in Valley Forge, yeah.
It's nicer
Yeah.
in Valley Forge than it is in Jersey right now.
Yeah, we're actually the sun just came out. It's been raining most of the morning.
It's nice and sunny where I am.
It's like 85 degrees out.
Yeah,
Really?
it's
Oh,
warm.
beautiful.
It's gross out here.
Beautiful,
well,
beautiful.
thank you very
It's been
much.
great,
We
guys.
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
And for anyone that didn't get to
Awesome.
ask a question, feel free to reach out. We will be posting this as a podcast, and we will see you guys next week.